Hi there, and welcome to the latest edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast, the independent Rangers podcast, which is brought to you by fans for fans, and where the content is absolutely free. It is a special preview edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast. I'm your host, Colin Armstrong. As I keep on saying to you guys, it's not just the pod that we have here at Gersnet. We've got the forums, there's articles on the website, Frankie's got his social media, there's a history archive on the website as well. So get yourself onto the website if you can. If you like what we're doing here at Gersnet, please give us a wee subscription or resubscribe on the YouTube channel. Put the word out there on social media. Let people know what we're doing. Before I get on to the show, I'll have to highlight our partners at Zenith Coins. They're doing a limited edition of 1,872 coin collections. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to celebrate Rangers' 150th anniversary by owning this limited edition historic coin collection. There are 5 iconic milestones in the collection, which are the Founding Fathers, Ibrox Stadium, the Cup Winners' Cup in 1972, 9 in a row, and 55 league titles. They're being released in small batches throughout the year. Some are out, some are still to come. If you want more information on that, please visit www.zenithcoins.com. Now to bring in my guest, it's Alec Anderson, and I have to apologise as yet again. I had some IT issues, so we're a little bit late, so Ek had to hang about as usual. But how are you, Ek? How are you feeling after last night, after that tremendous result?
Absolutely fantastic, mate. Fantastic. Let's not kid people on that we were having technical issues. It was just you and me going, "Oh my God, how great is this?" We did think we'd try and wind everybody up by proceeding to talk only about Dundee at Dens Park on Sunday for the next 40 minutes, but that'd be a bit cruel. We're going to be talking about. Listen, I don't ask you for much, Colin, but I'm going to have to ask you, mate, as a personal favour. Can you repeat again the stat that I hadn't thought of? Absolute belter. You mentioned this at the end of our immediate post-match reaction pod. We did it, so we bumped into David Fraser from this parish.
Is this the one concerning our neighbours?
It is that one.
Yeah, so we have been to the bottom tier of Scottish football. In 2012, we went to the bottom tier of Scottish football. The last team to get to a quarter-final, the last Scottish team to get a quarter-final in Europe was Rangers in 2008. In 2012, we were banished to the bottom tier of Scottish football. We've come all the way back up and reached a quarter-final again in European competition. And in that time, Celtic have got nowhere near a European quarter-final. I saw a good start today on Twitter, actually. It was something like, knockout games won in Europe by a Scottish club, Rangers 9, the rest of Scottish football 0. And that's a quality start.
I know you like your Beatles, and you're usually telling me that I need to get more into the Beatles, but I don't think even Paul, Ringo, John, and whatever the other guys called, I don't think they could ever have done a better tune than that. And that's music to my ears, mate. That's a beautiful, beautiful sounding piece of information. Absolutely lovely. It's just magnificent. And I think it was just a wee worry that because we're 3-0 up for the first leg, it's still a really tough game over there. And there was a wee worry that we could it would start getting bad, an undeserved bad press if we didn't go through. Yeah. Last night, and it'd be like, oh my God, they can't get past the last 16. As if that's a problem for a Scottish team, as if that's getting to the last 16 is what it's all about. But to be sitting here and it's just we're in a quarter final, we've moved on again in Europe. It's just magic, mate, isn't it? It's just magic.
That's kind of it feels for me, because we'd got stuck at the same stage for the last couple of years for this team's progression, and I think we all feel this team will get broken up at the end of the year.
Aye.
They deserve this team, and we'll come on and talk about the draw, but another tough draw, but certainly kinder than what we could have got, and probably the best opportunity out of all the teams available to reach the semi-finals. So it would be fitting, if this team got to a semi and then possibly maybe a final. But we'll come on and talk about that. But so on last night, a huge result. I mean, it was quite disappointing for me to lose on the night. Especially that penalty. That was one of the poorest penalty awards I think I've ever seen. It stood in the guy's toe. It's just never a penalty in my book. But
no, I thought it was a stone wall.
You thought it was a stone wall?
Not just by today's standards. Aye. Glenn Kamara stood in his toe and then he goes. You know what I mean?
If we're giving penalties for that, then the game's gone, I think. But anyway, that's
I
just my opinion.
I know what you mean. No. This is what we're talking about here is what we think penalties should be given for is different for what they are given for. And but mate, that's the kind of. It's just like what I'm talking is I know what it's like these days. I know why they're giving penalties. So I thought, that's as soon as they did it, I thought, that's going to be a penalty. Doesn't mean to say I agree with that being the rule.
Yeah, the rule. Yeah.
But you're right. I was the same. It's like what a beautiful position to be in for how we're feeling at the beginning. After 10 minutes, to be thinking by injury time, I'm actually pretty pissed off we've lost this game. You know, it was great. It was great. Totally spoiled bastards. Let's be honest. It was great. You know. Mute.
I mean, in Europe, we have been. You know, I was actually sitting. I don't know if I've mentioned this in the show before or whether I was talking to my mate about it. I can't remember. But me and my son sat and went through all the teams that he'd seen in the last 2 or 3 years, and it's like, pretty a decent run of teams. You know what I mean? You're just like, and I think we have to sort of emphasise that, Rangers getting to this stage in European competition. Even the last 16, under Walter Smith and Dick Advocaat and Alex McLeish and various managers, the quarterfinals in the last 16 were not common. To get to the last 16 3 years in a row, and now to get the quarterfinals, I think it's only the third time since I've followed the club they've reached that stage in a European tournament. It doesn't happen that often, and how consistent this team has been in Europe is remarkable. Really, they deserve a lot of praise for it.
I think the other thing is away from home. That's probably why, without us really realising it last night, some of our best results have been. We just don't seem to get beat on the road. And you're talking. That's a great point about the number of teams we've played. You think, and we keep. I've said this to you before. I said this to you in private before. We're becoming like the kind of Andy Robertson of European football. Every time Andy Robertson, scores another goal for Scotland or gets to another European final with Liverpool, it's like, it's not that long ago he was playing in front of nobody for Queen's Park at Hampden. And we can't help saying to ourselves, it's not that long. So every time we play a Porto or a Feyenoord or, put out a Red Star Belgrade, it wasn't that long ago we were playing against Queen's Park at Hampden in front of nobody. And, to be thinking we were playing in that kind of situation, like struggling to beat Cowdenbeath in the Championship and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, we just seem to have accrued 4 straight years now of top-level European football. And I think there's been 22 teams, 22 different clubs have been champions of Europe, right? It's an elite bunch. And we've beaten, that's Red Stars one of them last night. Dortmund, the previous round. Feyenoord, Porto, and maybe can beat Benfica on away goals. I'm probably missing somebody. And there's another club that we didn't want to win the European Cup a long time ago, who have been scudding regularly and domestically last season. So it's a kind of confirmation yet again of we're back. We never really went away, but we're now properly back, and then some. We're adding to it. We're adding to the legend, and it's as I say, I always say this, but as a support, we really deserve this.
Yeah, I mean, even when you consider where this sort of run started from against Progress Niederkorn, that shambles. We've got back to the top flight, and there's a sort of sense that things are, going back to normal a wee bit, and then you suffer an absolute disastrous result like that in Europe. If you'd have said to me that night, the night we got put out against Progress, that by the way, for the next 4 years, you'll qualify for the group stages, you'll reach the last 16 3 times. And you'll also reach the quarterfinals with a half decent chance in getting to the semi-finals. I'd have chased you, you know what I mean? So it's a remarkable run in Europe. It's just a shame that we've not really matched it domestically in terms of the number of trophies that we probably should have got. But there've been great nights. I don't think anybody could deny us that this has been a great run, some great nights, and it's still going on. I mean, I liked a thing that you put in Twitter the other day there saying no matter what happens, Rangers have only got 2 more European games at home this season. That's when you're in the latter stages. You're just like, well, we're coming to the end. We're either seeing this out to the final, or we're going out in the quarter of the semi-final. So it's brilliant. But squeaky bum time last night. I thought we started quite well, but didn't they defend that corner too well? And all of a sudden we're 1-0 down after like 9-10 minutes, and you're like, oh, that's not what we wanted.
No, I'm saying to Ross in the preview pod on Wednesday night. I don't know if Red Star will be that. The fans will be that up for it. Maybe they think it's all byway at 3-0 after the first leg, and the ground will only be half full. My telly was practically bouncing with the noise at kickoff. We could feel the atmosphere just sitting watching the telly. What the hell must have been like for the players? And in that respect, I was really proud of them. The first 5, up to maybe 8-9 minutes, you're thinking, well, it's no tidy. But we're getting into their half. We're trying to take the game to them. But we look a bit shaky, but we seem to be containing this. And then another thing I said to Ross on Wednesday night was they're terrible at set pieces, by the way. Say they make corners. No, they don't mark. They don't mark at corners. They just did. So if we just do that wee short corner thing we did for our second goal at home against Red Star, and then we get you an angle in, and we'll be absolutely fine for a wee set piece. And they've done exactly that. You were absolutely terrible. You stood there and watched it, and you thought, here we go.
It was a lack of centre halves. It seemed to me that was like the only one in that 6-yard box was Alfredo Morelos. But when I watched the replay, I don't know if it was how Red Star had set up for the corner, but all our sort of bigger players seem to be the sort of penalty spot onwards. In that area, it does seem to be a ploy that Gio's using. Corner kicks, Van Bronckhorst seems to be sitting at that, and he does win his fair share, to be fair to him. But he's completely misjudged this. I don't think Glenn Kamara's covered himself in glory either. Rather than attacking the ball, he's sort of gone back the way. And squeaky bum time at that point. But I thought we recovered well, and I think we have to mention Alan McGregor again. He has taken a fair bit of stick on this show as well. I think we've all, as long as it's constructive, I always think it's fair. He has, let us down at times this season. He hasn't had the best of seasons by his usual standards, but a couple of top-notch saves last night to keep us in it when it was 1-0. And I felt if they got 2 before half-time, it could have become really interesting. And he's came up with 2 or 3 really good saves to stop that happening.
Right, they're all totally vital, and something I've been saying a lot the last couple of games is when we were criticising Alan, you had to drag the criticism out of us because we love the guy. It's no, as you're saying, it's constructive, and I think it's said we love as well. Because we know how much of a legend Alan McGregor is. He's done so much for us. It actually hurts to have to say think he's at fault for this, that, or the other. But I think his saves last night actually became, and we were always maintaining it was a great shot stopper, and that's what we're going to need. Against this mob who like to hit them as well. But I maintain that is as brilliant as maybe 3 or 4 really vital saves. They seem to maybe get less vital as the game went on, particularly after we scored, and it just became the pattern became we're not going to. No, he's part of that. He's one of the main reasons we're looking less and less likely to actually lose the tie. But I think the save he makes straight after we lose the first goal, that's got to be the most important one of the night. Probably, arguably the best one as well, but I think it's at that point, if you lose a quick second, because in that kind of atmosphere, and this is what we were all dreading. We knew we were going to have to go through it. You don't just walk into a quarter final, especially if you're Rangers kind of money level of money in Europe these days. You don't walk into a UEFA quarter final without going through some sort of squeaky bum time. We did the same with Dortmund at Ibrox for a while. It looked like they were going to pull it back, but I think if they put a quick second in, we were in real trouble last night. It could have been a quick third after that, maybe a fourth. You really didn't know what was going to happen. You could feel the atmosphere. You could see the players when they settled. I think as much as anything else, at the goal we've lost, it was just whoever was nearest the ball was going to get the blame because nobody knew what they were doing. Just everybody stopped. Maybe even that's one of the ones Alan McGregor should be coming out and trying to catch. It's kind of right on the 6-yard line, But it was like there seems to be 6 Rangers players there who are all totally surprised. There's a guy right in the middle of them wearing a red and white striped shirt who's just taking the ball down and stroking it at him at his leisure. He looked a bit stuck, kind of rabbit caught in the headlights. So for Alan McGregor then, about a minute later, to pull off that save, I think that's the slow turn. Didn't feel like it at the time. I was nervous right into the second half. But I think that was a slow turn looking back on it. It started there when he made that save. We managed to keep ourselves in the game. And then he's dived to the left, he's dived to the right. And they had a great night.
We all know what he does. On our equaliser, I think I've said recently on the show that, as well as Ryan Kent has been playing, and he has been playing well, I think especially against Stormont over there, he was almost unplayable. His numbers haven't been fantastic. I think in the league he's got like 2 goals, 5 assists, something like that. So I was sort of saying a couple of weeks ago that, he needs to turn his good form into numbers, and have a sort of positive impact on the team. And he done that last night. I mean, he stripped away for that guy so quickly that the guy's hammy pinged. You see them sort of pulling up as if, not, I can't keep up with him. All right, he's got the deflection, but it's his goal, it's on target, and felt then that was it. I felt we would score over there, and we did, and scoring when we did, I just think that pretty much killed the game at that point, and we're thinking, we're in the quarterfinals.
I mean, that was I think I just basically, I kind of relaxed at that moment. No, once I pulled myself off the ceiling, I kind of relaxed because I just don't think I could take any more attention. And I think we still had a few, Griggs has made a couple of really vital saves after that. Again, they would have let them in quite quickly, maybe start a bit of momentum again for them. But no, that was you look back on it, that was it. That was the moment, and it was such a relief. I think we all knew if we just get one goal, it's going to turn this. I was pretty relieved we'd got to half time, still 1-0 down. It wasn't a classic pounding like Werder Bremen away in 2008. It wasn't that. It was more a case of we were getting plenty of the ball in their half, and we were getting attacks, but Alfie was pulling at stuff, snatching at stuff. We weren't passing the ball really. We weren't doing anything. We just looked as if we were a bit scared, for want of a better phrase. We weren't really handling the atmosphere too well, but we weren't giving up either. And it was just, if we could just get that wee moment going, a wee bit of pressure, that would make all the difference. And it's the build up to the goal itself is absolutely lovely. It's actually a really well constructed goal. But see, just about 2 minutes before that, we had a wee bit of play just going on the right hand side in our own half. I think it's Joe Aribo, Ryan Jack, Glenn Kamara get a wee bit of passing going. Maybe Tav's involved. I'm not quite sure who. But I remember thinking this is the first actual kind of football type move or Rangers that we'd recognise of this Rangers team that we'd actually managed to put together in the whole game. And it's funny how 2 minutes later we get a move on the other side and Jack's away. Ryan Kent's away, and it goes. It's almost like I said this last season as well. Same thing at Benfica when we played Benfica in the Stadium of Light. Although there was no crowd there because of COVID, they scored against us straight away, and we were a bit under pressure. And Ryan Jack basically went and took the ball in his own goal line, just to get him and Steve Davis got a wee passing move going. And that kind of 2 minutes later, we're walking the ball into their net. It's almost like we just needed to get that wee moment of confidence, that wee moment of holding the ball and remembering how to pass. And I think, he's maybe going for, I think he's going for the far away corner. He's going to try and put it in the far away corner. It might have been going in anyway, and for me, you'll be thinking the same yourself, mate. What's he trying to do? He's trying to score. Does it end up in the net? It's Ryan Kent's goal, and it was absolutely lovely. And I think that's him. He had a perfectly good goal disallowed against Dortmund at Ibrox, and then he scored last night, the goal that puts us through. And it's a deflection. I think by the time we get to the final, he'll be hitting a hat trick, against Eintracht Frankfurt or Barcelona, whoever it is, mate. It's in the stars, Yeah, mute again, mate. You're on.
I want West Ham in the final because they annoyed me last night. Honestly, that was you can't claim to be the self-proclaimed best league and most cash-rich league in the world, and then play the plucky underdogs because we've beat Seville. Your squad's worth over 300 million. You know what I mean? There's nothing. That to me, that was. I mean, you would maybe expected Seville to go through that given the experience they've got in the tournament, but that wasn't a Rangers Dortmund with them last night, and that's how they were treating it, in my opinion.
Are you trying to say there's a club with a 60,000 capacity all-seater stadium who has employed David Moyes, who makes themselves out to be, a wee underdog that you don't quite like? I think I know where you're coming from, mate.
So anyway, the draw today, Braga. Now we've played them before a couple of years ago. And we got through 4-2 in aggregate, I think, if memory serves me right. We were 2-0 down at Ibrox, 1-3-2, Hadji's couple of goals, that Joe Aribo moment. I think this team's progressed since then. I think we're a better team. So you would have to say, we've obviously not set in stone, but, it's probably the best draw we could have had. And if we are successful against Braga, it's Leipzig or Atalanta in the final. Now, I think memory serves me right, did we not get Lisbon in the quarters in 2008? So
the shot behind you, yep.
Yep, Portuguese team, and we got Fiorentina in the semi. So if we get Atalanta, it's the same run, isn't it?
It is, you know, and the Russians have been banned for this one, so it's the omens are coming through there. And the other thing is, it's not just the omens, it's just sheer hard facts that, you know, we've beaten this team before, home and away. We're probably better, as you say, than we were. You know, Braga, I'm talking about, we beat them home and away. The last time we played them, we've probably improved since then. And in a lot of ways, I don't like that. I actually, I want us to savour. I really want us to savour the quarter-final. You know, the fact that we're in a quarter-final. I've got that kind of, my attitude is very much, like when things could go wrong, I want them to go wrong in the best way possible, if you know what I mean. That's why I was wanting like Barcelona. I personally most wanted Eintracht Frankfurt. I've got a wee kind of thing, you know, about European finalists. I've never seen Eintracht before, and you know, we've got a romantic association with Eintracht and blah blah blah. And I think they're beatable as well. But
and we owe them one for that absolute humping that they gave us.
Well, when I say romantic association, we kept inviting them back for friendlies after that, but it's like, you know, it's the record doing any European semi-final for anybody. So we seriously owe them, mate. But I think Barcelona would be the one for me that would just let everybody go, right, think no further. We're playing Barcelona. That's amazing. You know, whereas this is the opposite. We just have enjoyed the fact we're in a quarter-final against Barca, and we keep saying the word quarter-final to us. I'll keep using that phrase, and that would get the club and the team the praise they deserve. But it's now, that's just opened right up. We're just thinking, Braga. They're not even doing, I mean, they're, what are they, fourth?
I think fourth. Is there no sixth? I'm sure they'll win.
I think Atalanta. Maybe
is it Atalanta that's sixth?
I think they're sixth. See, you're away already. You're in the semi-final already. I'm in the semi-final already. You know what I mean? That's the most dangerous thing.
I know. No, I know. We need to stop that.
But no, that's it. Listen, it's doable. It's so doable. You know, and I just, the fact that the guy, which is, I've got it written down something. Abel Ruiz, Spanish player. He scored their goal last night in Monaco. You know, they were 2-0 up. He scored in that the home leg last week against Monaco. They scored after 20 minutes last night, and that was them kind of through. Basically, Monaco eventually equalised, but it was a comfortable progression for them, for Braga. His debut was that night at Ibrox, you know, 2 years ago. And he scored. You know, he's a guy that put them 2-0 up, and that's what sent to Ross on Wednesday night. I just remember at that point sitting thinking, well, this is okay because they're a good club. Braga, they're obviously a cracking team. It's no disgrace to go out to them. I'm quite happy with that at this stage. You know, when Rangers coming back, just generally as a club, but just us coming back, this is no disgrace. And then we go and beat them on the night, and then we beat them. We kind of outclass them over there as well. Yeah. So all the way about this time, you know, we go away first. You know, but it's really finely poised, Colin. It's really finely poised in terms of we really could be going through here. And you know, I didn't even like the fact that Red Star Belgrade on paper were so like us and so possibly beatable, because I just wanted, you know, again, I don't like that the pressure's on Rangers to go through, because we are still coming back from the traumas of 2012. I just want the praise on us all the time for getting that far. But it's the same again, and we've got to enjoy it.
Yeah, but I think even if you take 2012 out the equation completely, you look at the turnovers of the respective clubs that are left in that competition, and I think Rangers and Braga are the two. We are, just by being in the quarterfinals, we're overachieving. You know, and that Dortmund tie was supposed to eliminate us. You know, that's what that's all about, to get rid of the sort of the clubs that they don't think are going to win it early, so that the most glamorous clubs are still left in tournament. No one expected us to beat Dortmund. When we beat Dortmund, we were overachieving. To get to the quarterfinals is probably seriously overachieving. If we get to the semis, then you're way above what your expectations were this season. But you're right, it's finely poised. They're certainly beatable, but I don't think we should be treating them with contempt in any way. It'll be a tough game, and there's certainly no guarantee that we'll get to the final. But there's every chance that we could. And semi-final, you know, I don't even want to think about it, because it just gets me.
I know.
It just gets me too excited. Right, moving on. Before we talk about the game tomorrow, I thought we'd quickly discuss the sort of the friendly. You know, there's sort of rumours kicking about that Rangers are about to pull out of that. I would think that's the right thing to do. Yeah, I think the club have got this completely wrong. I think they've totally misjudged the mood of the supporters. How they could have thought that the support would have reacted well to that, considering, I mean, even if you take the last 10 years out of the equation, I still think there's an element to the rivalry that the supporters wouldn't be happy. But given 2012 and everything that's followed since then, and just, the fact that they can't even say her name. When we turn up at Celtic Park, it's the opposition today is McGregor, Tavernier, blah blah blah. Everything about them. We're not half of anything. Not part of the old firm. Just the general contempt that comes from them with regards to us. I'm amazed that Rangers got into bed with them, and I think it would be wise if this rumoured sort of withdrawal is true. I think it's the right decision.
Absolutely, the right decision. Maybe a bit too late, but it's better late than never. Colin, it's one of the things I don't come on a podcast, a Rangers podcast. I'm saying I don't like talking about it. I don't like talking about not liking Celtic, but it's one of the things I think it's actually a separate issue. The rivalry between the fans. That's something we can talk about. To the cows come home. We can. As somebody who's seen violence and various things in his own life that have been nothing to do with football. I've never been in any great rush to hate anybody or get involved in any kind of. I just love Rangers. It's all about the love for me, and I need to. I know we've got a lot of problems with Celtic fans on Twitter and what have you. A lot of problems with Rangers fans on Twitter. We can make each other's lives a real misery as well. But I genuinely like to make it clear that my problem here is with Celtic, the football club, the way they've been run since basically Peter Lawwell arrived at the club. When this was first mooted, Ross and I were on the pod, doing a preview pod, the day the rumour broke. Mm-hmm. And we now know that was basically the whole point. That was the real game here, was the only reason Celtic wanted to get in bed with Rangers was to use us as obfuscation to distract from the news about a class action, against their club. Quite an ironic phrase when you consider how totally unclassy their actions have been in that respect as a club. And I think, listen, the guys at Rangers, a lot of them won't be real Rangers people. I don't mean that in a detrimental way. They're working for the clubs. They are real Rangers people. I just mean they won't have been born and bred, in the Rangers traditions, and their jobs is to make money for Rangers. I'll keep going, mate. Don't worry. I can talk until Sunday night's main show. Don't worry about that. But their main job is to make money for Rangers. So I don't have anything. I'm not going to get into kind of witch hunting the Rangers board for trying to do that. Particularly numbers involved. But I would just say that when they see what happened with that news, with that arrangement of that friendly, when they see how that was used and when it was used by Celtic, I think that they know they've had their fingers seriously burnt, and they've obviously learnt their lesson, and they just shouldn't get involved with them again. Again, it's the club. I'm not talking about the Celtic fans here. I'm not even talking about Celtic players. I'm not even talking about Celtic as a club through the ages. I'm just talking about this particular regime, or the way they've been run for this, since the turn of the millennium, really. The things they've done to us, the way they've had football stopped, on several occasions, the way they've the season curtailed, 2 years ago. And then we're having to hear them talking about they wanted, the only reason they were moving the fixture schedule this season, the only reason they were part of that was because they were all about the fans, and it was all about getting the lifeblood of the game through the gates. Not that was it hell. It was about making sure they could rest their squad and get new players in and be ready and to knock us out of our system again. Another parallel with 2008, there was Alan Hutton last night on BT Sport, and it's reminding me of, when he didn't get to play an Old Firm game because it got moved. We shouldn't be involved with them in anything other than what we're contractually obliged to be involved with them in terms of the league and the domestic competitions. And I don't mean that against Celtic fans. Well, obviously, we've got our problems with Celtic fans. A lot of them don't, that maybe can't resolve. But it's just this Celtic regime, the way it's running, the way they operate, their attitude towards us. You should not be getting involved with them in any way, any more than you have to. And I hope everybody at Rangers and the Rangers board now has learnt that lesson. Not everybody's responsible, just the people that arrange this, But I hope we are pulling out. It's still not confirmed yet. I just hope we are pulling out.
I was speaking to John McCallum about this. I agree with you. I think the turning point was when they became a PLC. I think how they started to operate from that point on was very different and a bit more aggressive, was maybe the right tone. And Law certainly fits that bill. Since he's come in, there's been a right sort of snidey element to him, and why Rangers got involved, I just don't know.
It's a dangerous. Colin, I'm just say one more thing, mate. Sorry, I don't want to go on about this too much, but I'll just say one more thing. I remember as a kid reading, was serialised in the Daily Record or the Sunday Mail or something. It was Bobby Lennox's autobiography, and I remember reading him saying, "I've been called every sort of sectarian, anti-Catholic epithet under the sun throughout my playing career, but never once by a Rangers player." There was a total, not just an actual respect, between the two, between the two sets of players anyway. But there was a tacit agreement between the two clubs that the potential for explosiveness, the potential for violence and the toxicity that existed between the fans was something that they were exploiting enough just by getting us through the gates. It shouldn't go any further. You go back to the 50s, Celtic had there was a massive controversy that people won't know about now. It's in a great book.
The flag thing, yeah.
And who were the two clubs that supported Celtic against the SFA for flying the trickle above the jungle? Hibs and Rangers.
Rangers, yeah.
And it's just gone completely opposite way, mate. They're stoking it up. They're stoking it up to distract from on-field stuff. We've had where guys that did that. Charles Green and what have you was quoting anti-Protestant sectarianism as being the reason we were, weren't getting back in the top flight and stuff like that. We've had bangers who've tried that kind of tact as well, but they haven't lasted long at the club. But it seems to be actual policy at Celtic now, to try and stoke that stuff up. And some of the characters they've had, Neil Lennon and Martin O'Neill, I think have been as victims of it as much as they've used it as well, to dangerous levels. And it's a terrible policy. It's a dangerous policy, and we really need to distance ourselves from them as much as we can.
Absolutely. On to the game on Sunday. Back up to Dundee. We were there last week in Scottish Cup business. Back up the road. There was no sort of press conference today. I couldn't find anything, so there's no squad update. Gio did give an interview, but it wasn't like an official presser. So no update on the squad. Obviously, a wee bit of concern about Alfredo Morelos, who went off injured last night, but I think he was okay. I think it was maybe more tactical than anything else. So I'm thinking, as he did last week, I'm thinking you might see players who haven't had a huge amount of game time on Sunday. I think, Roof, obviously, a possibility. I think we might see Ramsey again, Hollander. Definitely an opportunity to give get some legs and minutes and legs. Sorry, it's some of the fringe players at the moment.
Absolutely, and I think last Sunday was really encouraging, Colin, and that they earned it. They showed that they were up to it. A lot of the fringe players, for Sakala scoring the goal, Aaron Ramsey, I thought had a great game for a guy at his level of fitness just now. Obviously, I thought he was really influential. Really enjoyed himself. I enjoyed watching him. Big Sands was really solid. I quite enjoyed watching.
He played well, didn't he?
Quite encouraged.
I have today. I don't know. I've not seen anything official, but I saw something on Twitter saying that he's been called up for the international squad.
Was that right?
I saw somebody mention it on Twitter. I've not seen anything official. I don't. So if I'm wrong there, don't quote me on it. But
I don't want to be that good. I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
So he was rubbish. If anybody's watching the States, he was garbage last Sunday.
I just don't pick him.
But he did well. Sorry, go ahead.
No, on you go.
No, I just mean we did well last Sunday, and it's going to be different. It's there's going to be a few more Dundee fans there, I would imagine, than there was last Sunday. Is it a strike? Is it a strike? Or I just assumed it was a season ticket thing, but the Scottish Cup game was doing the season tickets, and they couldn't be bought.
My mate was telling me one of his pals is he's a Dundee fan, and I think it's the Mark McGee thing. I think it's very much aimed at Mark McGee. Now, don't get me wrong, there maybe was an element of, as you say, season tickets don't cover Scottish Cup games. But I do think if Mark McGee wasn't there, more would have turned up. We'll come on and speak about Mark McGee, because it was an interesting appointment. But, I mean, another thing about this, and this thing always gives me the fear, especially when they announce it so formally. Rangers announced today that we'll be wearing the white kit that we didn't wear against Aberdeen. They announced that they were going to wear it against Aberdeen. There was a wee rumour that spooked some of the players, given the kit that we wore last season against St Mirren, the one-off kit, and we lost that game. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But one thing that is true is they played in blue that day. They came out in blue. So it's been announced that they're wearing it tomorrow. On Sunday. That gives me a wee bit of fear, I must admit. But, given Celtic are playing tomorrow, it's the final round of fixtures before, the international break. You would imagine Ross County are on a decent run of form at the moment, but you'd imagine Celtic would beat them at Celtic Park tomorrow. So the likelihood we're going into this game on Sunday 6 points behind Celtic, it's crucial, that we secure the 3 points. It's crucial that we get the victory. Job done, back down the road.
Aye, the only thing I'm worried about is the fact that I think especially when you go somewhere and you win quite easily, then you're back there so quickly. You've always got that kind of superstitious type fear that it'll not be that easy this time, But I think we'll be changing enough within the squad and enough guys coming in who a wee something to prove after the first team did the business last night. That we should be okay. We'd hope we're okay. I think the kind of main players, obviously we're not going to be putting out a kind of a reserve 11. There's going to be a lot of last night's team involved. It's a bit different because we're playing at home last Thursday against Red Star, and then we've got a kind of 4 o'clock kickoff last Sunday, whereas now it's noon kickoff, after coming back for Belgrade, and the strip. We just managed to turn the lilac strip lucky last Sunday.
Yeah,
and that's us gone for another one.
Yeah,
I think it looks lovely. It looks really nice.
Something you mentioned this at the Aberdeen game when we done the post-match pod at the Aberdeen game. We were talking before we recorded the show, and it was never had the white top on, and you'd said you'd watched them warming up. And you saw the black and red socks, and you were like, "Oh, this will be lovely." The white top, the white shorts, and the black and red short. And I thought that would be a good look. So I don't think they will wear the black and red socks because I'm sure Dundee's socks are kind of darker and they always try and wear it. But that would be a look, wouldn't it? White top, white shorts, and red and black socks. Oh,
proper Victorian, lovely. Aye.
It would be a good look. But I think it'll be all white. And I have got a wee bit of the fear about wearing this kit because just wear it. Don't announce that you're wearing it. You know what I mean? Don't make a big, we're wearing this kit, because I always feel when you do that, you make an arse of it, and fingers crossed we don't. Looking at the bookies today and sort of Dundee's form, Dundee are 10-1, which I think is actually quite generous given where they are. Rangers are 1-4, draw 17-4. Dundee are sitting bottom of the league. They've won 5 of the 30 games this season. They've drawn 8 and lost 17. Their win ratio is 16.7%. They've scored 24 goals all season, which equates a conversion rate of 11%. I think they've had something like 208 shots on goal, and they've scored 24 of them. Obviously, recently sacked James McPake, replaced him with Mark McGee. I mean, I don't know how you feel about Dundee. I felt when they came up, last season, at the start of the season, when they had Cummins and all the rest of it, and obviously Lee Griffiths went over there as well, Charlie Adams there. I kind of looked at Dundee and thought, well, I'm not thinking top 6, but I certainly think they've got the potential to stay up here, and it's just not happened for them at all. It's been a really, really poor campaign, I think, and whatever provoked the sort of managerial change, that it's no worked. I mean, I think we all know why Mark McGee got the job, and it's because his wee ginger pals sort of in a high position at Dundee. But it's no worked, and I've got to be honest with you, if I was supporting a club which was in bottom place, displaying the type of form that I've just sort of rhymed off there, if they appointed Mark McGee, I'd just think that sounds what we're doing, isn't we? You know what I mean? I just found that a really uninspiring appointment.
I think the icing on the cake for that, or maybe the kind of clown nose on the clown, was he can't get into the bench.
A 6 game ban. Aye.
I mean, you're bringing in a guy when you're basically trying to save your season, and was it 6 games? He can't sit. It's unbelievable.
And is that no link to the mind he got sent off at Pittodrie when he was a Motherwell manager? There's that famous video of him. He gets sent to the stand, and the Aberdeen fans are following him. And you think about what he'd done with Aberdeen. I mean, he was a brilliant player with Aberdeen. He was part of that team that won the European Cup Winners' Cup, all that kind of thing. You would think he was a bit of a legend up there. they're all ripping the piss out of him. They're all like, "You're a dick, by the way." You know what I mean? And he's shouting at the guy with the camera and all that kind of thing. He's just such an uninspiring sort of guy.
I think when he lost, was it 9-0? Aberdeen lost to Celtic at Parkhead. You know, we know the Aberdeen don't try quite as hard against Celtic maybe as they did against us, but that was taking it to a whole new level. So I think he scored the first Scotland goal I ever saw scored against England, Mark McGee, 1984.
I remember that. Aye. Finished one each, didn't it?
Aye, one each. That's it, mate.
I remember
Tony
that.
Woodcock, I think, equalised for England.
Yeah.
I was doing it at Wembley in '83. That was my first Scotland England game. Actually, my dad took me down to Wembley, and we got beat 2-0. But the following year, big Mark McGee scores, and I remember him making his second debut. No, he come back to Celtic from Hamburg, and his debut was at Ibrox, and we beat him 3-0. That was great. And I think it's November '85ish. But I don't know why they've appointed him. There's this whole thing that you got to kind of stay in the loop as a football manager, and they're getting younger and younger, and he seems to go against that. For the start. Listen, McPake wasn't doing great, but he was kind of, I don't think he was doing as badly as the sacking of him would lead you to believe he was doing. I think it was retrievable, not getting out the relegation area. You know, I think Aberdeen are like 9 points in front of them in third bottom. But they could definitely catch St Johnstone. They're still only a point behind St Johnstone, I think. Dundee in bottom and St Johnstone in the relegation playoff spot. But the problem with all this is, Colin, we're just setting ourselves up here. You know, it's like there is no excuses, not only for no beating Dundee, but for no tanking them. And teams like this tend to have one big performance in them, one big kind of sickener for somebody every season. And we have to make sure it's not us. And we have to use last Sunday as encouragement. Because we spent a lot of last Sunday being frustrated at the lack of goals that we're scoring. You know, we've only finished our chances. So I think we've still got that in the bag. You know, we didn't leave it all out in the park last Sunday. So hopefully we can just go back up there and look at maybe taking more of the chances that we create, maybe being a bit more clinical. See, to be honest, I actually have a funny feeling we're going to come out with another 3-0 win. Done differently, but I think it'll be 3-0 again. I
would take that. I really would. It's just about, I mean, really enjoying what we're doing in Europe, you know, absolutely loving that. But, you know, we also need to make sure that we're taking care of the bread and butter. And I just think because it's the last fixture before the international break, and the fact that Celtic are playing before us, which is, you know, something we're going to have for at least another round of the Europa League, and it could go on again, you know, if we do reach the semi-final, you know, and that is something, you know, if they get the 3 points on the Saturday, we're playing catch up on the Sunday. I just think it's vital that we win well. Everybody goes away and does their international stuff, and then we come back fresh and ready to go for the Rangers Celtic game on the 4th of April.
I think that's another aspect to it, Colin. We're talking about Braga being, you know, tempting us into thinking that they're so doable that we're almost in the semi-final. When you look at how much beating Dortmund, or the 2 games against Dortmund took out, was we dropped points, we drew both the following league games. You know, Red Star at Ibrox. I know it's at Ibrox, and we've got another game in Scotland. The following game, it's going to be more difficult having come back for Belgrade this time. But we go and we beat Dundee 3-0. You know, we didn't put as much into the Red Star game at Ibrox. You know, we didn't have to almost. We put a lot into it. It's a hell of a performance. You know, but they had a lot of the ball too. I think Braga also might not. This sounds really off the charts, but it might be really able to beat Braga maybe narrowly. You know. And then still have enough left in the tank. If we had to play Barcelona, if we had to play, I think even RB Leipzig, you know, there's a couple of teams in there that would have drained us just to keep the score respectable in this quarter-final of Europe. And I think we would then be dropping points guaranteed in the following league games or losing a cup semi-final. This time, I think Braga gives us a chance to keep going on all 3 fronts, you know.
Yeah, well, hopefully. I mean, I don't think we should forget that, you know, as much as Dundee are struggling now and, you know, they're bottom of the league, they did give us a wee fright early on in the season. You know, that was a nervy game. So yeah, 3 points, Rangers, if you can, down the road, and then we can all breathe a wee bit of sigh of relief for a week and have a wee. Well, I look at the international break as a total break because I've got no interest in Scotland whatsoever. I know you do, but I'll find a game somewhere else to watch on the Saturday, and just get a wee breather before we come into this final run of fixtures. And, you know, April's looking like it's going to be mega, but that's what you want, Eric. That's what you want.
Absolutely. We're in it to win it, mate. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Right then, looking at the time, I think we'll call it quits for tonight. So a big thanks to Alex Anderson for his contribution there. Brilliant stuff as always. We were live tonight. It was a Friday night, but as per the pod will be available to download and stream on a variety of platforms from tomorrow, including Acast, iTunes, YouTube, Castbox, Stitcher, Spotify, all your usual places. A big thanks to Alex. I should point out as well, I meant to mention this earlier on, there's a film coming out about Rangers winning the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1972. I think it's called Rangers 1972. The trailer is currently on YouTube, so you should have a wee check out of that. And you'll see Eck sitting in a fancy Glasgow cafe talking about Rangers winning the Cup Winners' Cup in 1972.
Very briefly, that's the entire 2 seconds that I'm actually in the film. You know what I mean?
Well, it's 2 seconds more than any of the rest of us got.
So it's still worth watching. Don't be put off with the fact that I'm in it. Rangers 72, get on it.
It looks a really good watch. So look out for that. I think it's coming out in DVD next month. So have a wee look out for that, and you'll see Eck on that. So big thanks to Eck. We're back on Sunday. I think it's myself hosting with Joshua Barry, and who else is on?
Damn it.
Try to think. Oh, I'm having a brain freeze here. Is it Joshua Barry? I can't mind. I'll have a look. I'll put the word out there on Twitter, let you all know. But we'll go live at 9:30 on the Sunday night, obviously talking about what's happened at Dens. In the meantime, between then and now, get yourself onto the Gersnet website and forums at www.gersnet.co.uk. Until Sunday night.